Well, we're going to hear from three people this morning. They're all soldiers of the Salvation Army. One is an officer, and we're going to hear about their service in other places. And so this morning, I invite, as we start this little section, Dale Godkin's going to come and speak to us first. And I'm not going to say any more about that because I don't want to steal anyone's words. But we're going to sing a chorus, Chosen to be a Soldier. Chosen by God. Amen. Chosen to be a soldier, washed in his blood. Lost ones to save. Chosen to be a soldier in the army, brave. And I think these people are really brave. And I think we're all brave, you know. We're all called to be missionaries just wherever we are. But on this Self-Denial Sunday, we are specifically hearing about service overseas. So we'll sing this chorus through just once, and then Dale, it's over to you.
Well, good morning. Transforming lives. What a challenge that is for each and every one of us today. The opportunity that we have to change someone's life. We often talk about spiritual change, don't we? We want to win someone over. We want to introduce them to Jesus Christ. But there's no better way to introduce someone to Jesus Christ than by transforming their life. Taking them from something that is nothing and giving them something to live for. We've had a project that's been running in the Philippines now since 2005 when we first started. You know, SADO, some of you may not know about SADO, but SADO is a Salvation Army development organisation, and they do a wonderful work. And the money that you give to development work overseas goes through IHQ in London, and then is distributed through organisations such as SADO. And this is the whole mission of the Salvation Army. You all probably know that William Booth said that it was heart to God and hand to man. And that's what we as Salvationists are all about, to reach out and to transform the lives of young people. To take a person who has nothing in life, living below the poverty line. In the Philippines, we're often getting young men to start with that we started with. They're a pedicab driver. They drive a little bicycle with a sidecar on the side of it. They get 5 pesos, 15 cents, to take someone down the street. And you're able to take someone like that. You're able to bring them up to Manila. You're able to put them in a fully serviced boarding house. Most of these kids sleep on a bed for the first time in their life. They've never slept on a bed. They sleep on the floor, 5, 6, 10 to a room. And we bring them up and we teach them about hygiene. We teach them about living and eating properly. All their meals are provided for them. All their needs are provided. We have wonderful house parents, retired Salvation Army officers, who give their service as house parents to look after these young people. And then we send these young people off to school. We give them a training course. We identified very early that there was a shortage for fitters. That's a fitter and turner in the shipping industry. And because of my connections with that industry, we talked about it, and the industry decided that if we could train fitters to a high level of English and a high level of expertise, that they would take them. So our first 3 batches were funded by SADO and AusAid here in Australia. And that gave us the seed funding to be able to set up and put in our training program. The shipping industry just loved it. They were just exactly what they needed. People who could speak high level of English and at the same time have high level of skills. and we started feeding those into the industry. And from that, because of that, the industry has then funded that project from thence on. It hasn't been able to be continued to be funded by AusAid or SADO. It's funded by the industry itself because it saw the need was being provided for them. We then met a big challenge. They came to us and they said, you've got to have girls. Oh, this could be a challenge, especially in the shipping industry. As many of you would know, shipping industry, especially in the cargo industry, which was what we were dealing with, it's an all-man's world. Although it is gradually changing, and we are seeing some engineers and that coming through as it did in the airline industry. So this was a challenge, and we thought, what can we do? And that's the culinary. We took on culinary, and initially we had our funding from the industry in that, and the industry put on a stipulation: you must have 10 girls in that group. And oh yes, that was a challenge. And we have done that, and we train up now. We train culinary students, and we train the fitters, and we provide them to the industry. Highly qualified young people. And the beauty of this is that these people's lives are totally changed. A fitter, for instance, you can imagine, he goes from a little job, or some other water bottle fillers, and we have filtered water there. You've got to fill up. They get about $3 a day for filling the water bottles. We put them on an international ship, and all of these young people, every one of them gets a job. Everyone gets a job on international shipping. Their first pay packet as a fitter is $1,100 per month. They don't have to pay for food. They don't have to pay for transportation. They don't have to pay for anything. That's into the pocket. What does that do? Because Filipinos, especially Filipinos, and many Asians are like this, what do they do with that money? They send it home to the family, or they send a majority of it home to the family. And that allows that family to buy a refrigerator, to change the bamboo walls of the house into hollow blocks, to better their lives. It enables them to send their siblings to school so that they then can be educated and they can have a better life. So from that small dollar that you give today to international development can dramatically change the life of an individual, can change a life for the whole of his family or her family for the future. I challenge you today, try and change a life and you will be rewarded. God bless you. Thank you.
Challenge accepted. That's marvellous to see what's happening, and women and men. That's wonderful. It's a really important perspective in today's world. We're going to sing that chorus again, and then we're going to hear from Major Christine G, our PNG champion. Let's sing together. Let's really clap this time. Like, I feel the energy is a bit low this morning. So, for those who don't know, I think the majority of people in the room know this chorus. Yeah. All right, let's sing. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to speak about Papua New Guinea, a country that is very close to my heart. Although I fear, Mr. Colin, you might have made a bit of a mistake by giving me 5 minutes to speak about PNG. It's quite a
I'll give you
tall
5
order,
of mine.
but
I'll give you 5 of mine. So
5 of yours? Okay, thank you. Give me a wave or whatever if I start to go off track and take too long. But thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, I had the privilege to serve in Papua New Guinea for close to 20 years in all, and it was for me a life-changing event. I went as a nurse and midwife with a heart to help people, and I thought, I'll go work for 2 years overseas, see what I can do to help people with the skills that I had. But the Lord had other ideas. I stayed for almost 20, as I said, became a Christian, soldier, an officer, all while I was serving in PNG. So I call PNG as my spiritual home, and it always will be. But yeah, today I'd just like to give you a very small taste of the work that I was involved in and that the Army is involved in PNG, especially in regards to the use of funds from the self-denial appeal. The next slide, please. PNG is a country of great differences. I think this slide sort of epitomises it to me. It's a country steeped in tradition and culture, but trying to survive in the 21st century. You can see an aeroplane behind and a cultural expression in the foreground. It's a country that is struggling to survive in the 21st century and to blossom and find its place in this world. The next slide. So my work, as I said, as a nurse and as a midwife, initially was predominantly to help with the maternal and child health areas of our work. In PNG, the Army has over 20 small clinics throughout the very remote rural areas, and the statistics for maternal and child health was pretty poor on world standards, almost up there in the top 10 of the worst countries in the world. So our task was to try and help change that around, and to help people to realise the importance of good health and illness prevention as well, rather than just going to a clinic when you got sick, hopefully getting a tablet to help you to get well. So childbirth is a big part of our work. Next slide, please. And our ultimate aim was to have healthy, happy families, especially the women and children. The next slide. To help change the world for people from the previous generations to something that is better. So how do we do that in a country like PNG, where the government do provide some financial assistance for the health work, but it is very small. It's only enough really to cover the very basics. If we want to do in-service training with our health workers, which is really vital for them to be up to date with current situations, treatments and advice to people, we need to get them in from these remote rural areas and give them in-service training. The next slide. Our clinics out there in the rural areas are mostly manned by just one person, who often is the only health worker that people in those communities will see in their whole lives. So their 2 years basic training is vital for them to be able to do what they can in the communities they're placed. You can see very basic facilities, medications, just the very basics. So how can we help to improve that? Through the self-denial funds, we've been able to build some new little health clinics, provide clean water for those clinics and for the communities, schools and the communities themselves, vital to help improve health. All of our aims was to help improve the health of people. So through the tax-deductible self-denial funds, these were the basic things that we tried to do in the side of health. We had small rural schools with the assistance of the self-denial funds, HIV programs. There's just many, many expressions of how we were able to use the tax-deductible self-denial funds and continue to do so today. The non-tax deductible funds are also vital in a country like PNG that's got a very vibrant and growing Salvation Army, so especially in the rural areas. Training of cadets to be placed out in these rural areas is something that is very important. We have two campuses of the training college, one in the Highlands and one in Port Moresby. And this is some of the cadets and training staff of the Highlands campus who were able to provide to them a new truck to help them get the cadets out into these rural areas to spread the good news and to help people to, the people placed out there to be able to carry on the work. And you might wonder why we would provide a truck like that to transport people. But if you have a look at this next slide and look at the roads in PNG, it's the only suitable vehicle that could possibly get where they need to go. So the roads are atrocious, but people still get out there and serve, and any support we can give them to be able to do that is just wonderful and so much appreciated. So yeah, my role, the next slide, in PNG, it grew and developed over the years that I was there. I was involved in the projects office as well. So I know that the funds that came into the country were well used, well acquitted. I made some great friends and colleagues that are still there, especially the Nationals, continuing the work. They really need our support. And the next slide. This is a picture of me, obviously, and Anna, one of our senior health workers, who today is faced with the dilemmas of the coronavirus increase in PNG. How they will respond to that with the fragile health service that the government has in the country is quite frightening. But anyway, we can support them and just know, they can just know that other people care for them, gives them that energy to be able to carry on and do what they can do. So anything you can give today and throughout the years to the self-denial appeal, I can assure you will be well used in countries like PNG. Thank you.
Very much, Chris. God bless you.
It really stirs your heart, doesn't it? When you think about how people live in other places and how our giving is really going to transform lives and see a better future for people. In a moment, Emma is going to come and speak to us about her time serving in PNG. Elise and Emma went over. So this isn't just a, older person's place. There's a place for every generation in being a missionary, thinking about where can I go and make a difference. You hear about mission trips, and so I encourage younger people today, if you feel that the Lord's calling you to a particular service or a particular project even, just a project can transform a life, and it might just transform ours as well as we serve. So we'll sing this chorus. This is the last time, this is our last go at this. And then Emma is going to come and share her experience.
So when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about this morning, I was actually reminded of when I was teaching my class last year all about what a developing country or a third world country is. And I was really surprised because most of my class had actually never heard of this terminology before, and didn't realise that there were some kids their age that live very differently to how they live. So for those of you who don't know, I teach Year 6, and I love this age group because they're just that little bit older and they're really starting to be less egocentric, and they're able to think beyond themselves and think outside of themselves. And when we were doing this unit on global citizenship, I really challenged them, and I said, when I'm teaching or when we're talking about stories of kids that live very differently to you, don't just listen to the stories, but really empathise. Put yourself into their shoes. Think, how would you feel if that was how you lived? So I guess this morning I challenge you guys to do the same. I really challenge you not to just listen to the stories that I'm sharing or that Chris and Dale shared, but really put yourself into their shoes and think, how would you feel if that was me or if that was my kids? Going forward, in 2017 I had the amazing privilege of going to PNG, and I went there to stay with Kelvin and Julie Alley, and I was at university training to be a teacher, and the reason why I decided to go was wanted to go over, serve in the classrooms there, help with teaching English, see how they learn there, but also help pass on some information and different strategies that I've learned at university to the schools there, as well as bring over lots of different resources from here. When I arrived, I learnt that a crazy statistic was that 50% of children in PNG don't go to school. And most often, the reason for that was because their parents didn't go to school, and there was sort of this cycle. And so, your parents didn't go to school, their parents didn't go to school, and this cycle just kind of stayed in that family. So a cycle of not getting educated, and then not getting a job, and then having a family just continues. The Salvation Army in PNG, I saw do amazing work, and the work that they were doing was targeting this cycle, was really targeting to help stop this cycle. So when I was there, I spent most of my time at Broco Primary School, and Broco Primary School is a school that is completely funded and run by the Salvation Army. When it very first opened, it was very small, had about 10 classrooms. However, it has grown so much over time, and when I was there was lots of big buildings, lots and lots of classrooms, and they had over 1,000 students enrolled at the school. Broco Primary School is at an internationally recognised standard, and they speak English at the school there. And when I was there, working in the school, teaching some of the classes, learning the students' names and introducing myself to the teachers, I saw first-hand experiences of how this school really transforms lives. One of the highlights of my trip was meeting a little girl named Jo Carden. You can see her up in the right-hand corner there. I learnt from her teacher that when she started at the school there, she didn't actually speak English. Maybe spoke a little, but not very well. And speaking to her when I was there, which was, she was pretty much fluent at English. And that knowledge that she'd gained had tripled her chances of being able to get a job once she'd finished school. When I was asking her what she wanted to do when she left school, what job she wanted to go into, she told me that she wanted to become a teacher. And she was already practicing this by teaching all her older siblings at home how to speak English. And when I met her, she was only 5 years old. Broco Primary School gives students the opportunity to go to school, that otherwise they might not have this opportunity. They transform what that student's future would look like. The statistics of how many, when Julie was telling me about it, the statistics of how many of those children get to go to university because of that education was so high. And yeah, it was really exciting to hear about. Another highlight of my trip was definitely meeting all the teachers at the school there. They were all amazing teachers. They were all paid really well. They were all supported to get the correct teacher qualifications. And they all told me that teaching was the best job and that when I finished university, I had to come back and teach there. And they all told me how much they loved coming to work every day. It was just such a great culture there of how much they loved their job and were so passionate about seeing these kids' lives transformed. Without financial support from things such as the self-denial, schools in PNG, like Baroko Primary School, wouldn't have things like toilet blocks, wouldn't have well-paid teachers, wouldn't have all the big classrooms that are great facilities, wouldn't be able to cater for such a large amount of students that they enrol each year. And they wouldn't be able to transform the lives of the students and the teachers. And yeah, really helping to break that cycle of poverty that's continuing to happen in PNG. So I really encourage you to listen to the stories today and realise that it's really exciting because we can be a part of these stories right here today by making donations and helping this sort of work continue to happen. So that's just a little bit of my experiences.
Thanks.